party. Some of the guys showed up. It was honestly very, very awesome. I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully, we do more of these things. It was a unity joint program between three groups. So it was really, really awesome. I'm going to ask you guys to listen just for a few minutes. Yeah, I don't speak too much. I promise you, I keep it within 5 or 6 minutes, not more. But something that I wanted to share with you, and that is, we learned a story from Purim that actually our existence, the Jewish existence, is above nature. Naturally, we shouldn't have been here for many, many years. Let's explain what's going on. Usually, the concept in Judaism is there's no punishment if we don't deserve it. I don't like talking about punishments, but that's the main thing. If we do something wrong, there's a consequence. I think in the secular world, they call it karma or something, right? Everybody believes in it. So now the Talmud asks, what did the Jews do wrong at that moment that it deserved this whole destruction? As you know the story, there was a man with the name of Haman, whatever his name is. He comes and decides to destroy all the Jews. And that's a very, very terrible decree. The reason is because it was never in the history that the Jews lived in the same country. It says God was kind, we were scattered. So if there are Jews in danger in one country, other countries could help. They have where to run away to. But if they're under the same rule and the death penalty was in one day, so they had no states or cities to run away to. Anywhere they ran away to, everybody's going to kill them. And everybody lived in the old Persia. So why did such thing happen? And don't forget, that was our best time in history. Who was the queen those days, people? Esther. Never we had a Jewish, queen. And at that time, they make such an evil decree. So the Talmud says because they went to the banquet, the non-kosher banquet that the king made in those days. I have a question, people. Some sins have death penalty. For eating non-kosher, is there a death penalty? Anybody? Of course not. So why? God is becoming super religious to punish us? So they went to the banquet. Okay, big deal. And what did they do in the banquet? All right, so they ate some non-kosher food, the worst. Death penalty doesn't make sense. So the answer that they give is, people, there's a statement with Mark Twain. Mark Twain says, I'm just saying that even the nations of the world, the thinkers realize it. He says that for a country, for a nation to exist, you need the same language, same country, and same customs. Jews had none of them, going back over 75 years ago. We didn't all speak Hebrew. Still, we don't all speak Hebrew. We didn't even have the same country. We got Israel back 75 years ago, right? We don't have the same custom. Ashkenazi Jews like gefilte fish, right? Do you like gefilte fish? Of course not. Do you like herring? Maybe. No. I don't like herring. We don't have the same custom. So how did we exist after so many persecutions? So Mark Twain says it's a mystery. I don't have the answer. All right. But then actually the Talmud answers it. The Talmud says it's because God is protecting us. So, and actually the Medrash goes on, in history we had times that everybody stood up against Jews, like during World War II. Nobody stood up for us. I don't even know if you know this. There were two ships that came to the United States full of Jewish kids, and Americans sent it back to Europe. They didn't want to accept them. And they all got killed by the Nazis. America only entered the war after Pearl Harbor. So the Medrash says, so there are times that actually, everybody wants to kill us. So how did we exist? So the Medrash says the reason is because God is the great shepherd, that he actually watches us amongst all the enemies. That's the true existence that we have. We have someone above nature that keeps us. But when will we have God's protection, people? If we rely on it, or we tell God, get away, we don't need you. Don't bother me, I don't bother you. Like the IRS, right? Best relationship with IRS, don't bother me, I don't bother you. Or the government, right? Tomorrow you want to sell your house, you have to buy the toilet that the government tells you. You have to buy light bulbs that the government tells you. The best relationship with the government, you think, is don't bother me, I don't bother you. But with God is, if you actually rely on God's protection, then he will protect the Jewish people. When the Jews went to the banquet, they felt so good. They said, look, what a friendly king we have. We don't need God to protect us anymore. We don't need it. We got such a friendly king. Under his rulership, we'll be safe. So the moment they took the trust off from God, nothing helped them. So it wasn't a punishment for eating non-kosher. It's because they took away the trust from God. So God let go of them, and then they were under the laws of nature. Remember, according to laws of nature, Jews cannot exist. Honest to God, just think about it. Land of Israel, being among so many enemies, how are we existing? It doesn't make sense. After World War II, how do we exist? It doesn't make sense. After the Romans knocked us out during the Second Temple, How did we exist? Not only that, they're no more here. The Romans came and ruled the world for 300 years. They're not here anymore. The Greeks came, they ruled over the world for 200 years. They're not here. But it's little nothing. The Jew, not because we're anything special, but because we got a protection. That God protects us. That's a lesson that we know from Purim people. We don't go to God after everything else fails. We go to God first, and then everything else will succeed. I hope it makes sense. If not, you could always argue with me. I don't have a problem with that. Just that's a philosophy that I learned all these years that I was in yeshiva.